should not matter, must not matter until black people begin to respect their own lives. Then and only then will black lives matter. That's what I mean. That's what I'm saying. We need to have respect for each other. Once we start doing that, then we can begin to make real change. It is ridiculous of all the black-on-black violence. Let one cop shoot one black man, and we burn and we riot. However, let 100 black men kill 100 other black men, and nothing happens in the black community. Those are the words of Reverend Jasper Williams. Of course, he spoke for 50 minutes, and the Twitterverse went crazy, saying, well, I dare you, Jasper Williams, to speak truth in front of Louis Farrakhan, Jesse Jackson, and Bill Clinton, and other left-wing propagandists. I kind of hate going to a football game to watch my Bengals play maybe the Colts coming up this Sunday, and suddenly I'm in the middle of a Black Lives Matter protest, unwittingly. I kind of hate the idea of watching the Oscars to see who won the Best Picture, which I've quit doing. Suddenly I'm in the middle of some anti-Trump rant. I don't like watching the Tonys or MTV Music Awards, and suddenly, all of a sudden, I hear political diatribe at the Oscars or the Tonys or MTV Music Awards or the Grammys. I don't like watching a funeral, and suddenly Meghan McCain, who was hurting deeply for the death of her dad. And I went through the death of my mother. I know exactly what Meghan McCain was feeling. And if you have a beloved mom or dad who died, you have to feel the same thing that Meghan McCain felt yesterday during her attack on the president. I've only been to maybe 10 or 15 funerals, but I've never been to a funeral where someone eulogizing the dead seethes with anger at somebody not in the church. And these political attacks were made yesterday against the president in a church. When I go to Mass at St. Savior Church in Cincinnati, Ohio, I don't have a sense that I'm going to seethe with anger at anyone. I've given several eulogies. People ask me to do eulogies because I'm not a bad public speaker. But the last thing I'm going to do at a eulogy for my parent or someone I love is to attack someone not there. Is that what a church is all about? Supposed to attack somebody? Is that the Christian thing to do? And the attacks weren't just from Meghan McCain. They were from Obama and Bush and others who simply wanted to viciously attack the President of the United States on the death of John McCain. Couldn't you say nice things about McCain without saying bad things about Trump? Couldn't you not take a televised service in a religious institution, the National Cathedral, and turn it into a political rant against the president? Maybe if you're a co-host of The View, that may make some sense. It may be a resume builder. When she goes back to see Joy Behar and Whoopi Goldberg, there'll be a standing ovation because the New York elites kind of enjoy what Meghan McCain said. I found it offensive. And I'm not a person who deeply respected the political service of John McCain, but I did greatly respect his military service. So, for those of us who are offended by that, where do I go now to cure my offense? Where do I go? The answer is nowhere. The media loved this completely in every which way. Same thing at Aretha Franklin. When most of them, Eric Michael Dyson, whatever the hell his name is, had these cute things to say, and Al Sharpton. I'm at a funeral proceeding, watching it on television in a Protestant church in Detroit, and suddenly it's a political rally. It's like being to an NFL game and I'm in the middle of a Black Lives Matter protest. It's nothing sacred anymore. NFL games, if a hurricane takes place in Hawaii, it's Trump's fault. If fires happen in California, it's Trump's fault. At the Grammys, the MTV Music Awards, the Tonys, the Oscars, it's all Trump's fault. NFL games, it's all America's fault. At a funeral for an American hero like John McCain, who, by the way, put together the funeral. This was McCain's last shot at Trump. He said who should be there, and he said who should not be there. Sarah Palin should have been there. Sarah Palin energized the base in 2008. Sarah Palin, McCain's VP, gave the greatest vice presidential acceptance speech in American history. Sarah Palin, who was shredded by the McCain staff and killed by the national media because she was so good and so popular, the media had to bring her down. What if in 2008 the media spent as much time attacking Obama as they did attacking Sarah Palin? Hell, McCain would have been the president. McCain would have been elected. And the media loved McCain until he ran against Obama. Then they hated on him for about 8 months. And the greatest speech he ever gave was the concession speech in Arizona. The media loved that when he conceded to Obama. The media never covered Obama. The media crucified Sarah Palin. So when it was time for John McCain, who planned, according to media accounts, every part of the 1 week funeral service, he made sure that Sarah Palin was not there. He also made sure that most of his campaign staff from 2008 wasn't there because they're working at MSNBC. Now, there's a clue, Sherlock. If your campaign staff, like Nicole Wallace and Schmidt, is now working at MSNBC, doesn't that give you some indication, Sherlock, as to their political leanings? So they weren't at the funeral either. But how in the hell, the one time that John McCain received the nomination of the Republican Party in 2008, and he selects Sarah Palin, who did a fabulous job, he makes sure she receives no invite to the Arizona services, to the Washington services, or the one today in Annapolis, Maryland. Sarah Palin was ostracized completely by the McCain family. McCain wanted to give one more shot to Trump by having those parties speak in such a way. In a church, how in the world do former presidents take a matter of a eulogy inside of a church where God is present and use it as a political rally in a club against the sitting president? How in the hell does that happen? And what do they complain about? They complain about partisanship. They complain about a lack of civility. And they practice it. They practice partisanship, and they practice a lack of civility, and we're supposed to sit there and take it, not say anything. We're supposed to be like mushrooms living in the dark fed crap and not respond to it. My mother died, and when I stood up and eulogized my mom, there were tears in my eyes, and I spoke about her life. I never would have used that sacred occasion in a church to attack somebody that my mother may not have liked, who wasn't even there. So why did Meghan McCain do it? Why did Obama do it? Why did Bush do it? Why? Because McCain wanted it to happen. That's why. So the message was given. Use my funeral as a club and as an attack on Trump. And John McCain did that, who, by the way, before his death in Arizona, had a 20% approval rating among Republicans in Arizona. And overall, in the state of Arizona, he had a 60% non-approval rating. So don't sugarcoat this thing. The guy was an American war hero who served the nation greatly by having the crap beat out of him in the Hanoi Hilton for almost 6 years. From the time he became a Republican, he did everything in his power to curry favor with the national media, who loved him because he attacked Republicans and played ball with Democrats like Ted Kennedy, Hillary Clinton, and Barack Hussein Obama. And the media loved this guy till he ran against Obama. Then they hated on him for like 9 months until he was defeated and gave the concession speech, what the media said was similar to the Gettysburg Address. It sickened me. One thing with Aretha Franklin, okay, Jesse Jackson, the virulent anti-Semite racist Louis Farrakhan, Eric Michael Dyson, go ahead, go at Trump in a black church. She wasn't, in a sense, a political figure. And she was never very political at all in her life. She worked for Donald J. Trump, did dozens of appearances for him, and the president and Aretha were friends. Did you get that from the funeral service? Hell no. That's one thing. But John McCain, who talks about divisiveness and partisanship and pettiness, what the hell was his funeral? It was divisive, it was partisan, and it was petty. I just said it. We move on. Let's continue with your calls. We have Carlos and Greg and Patsy and Dan and Richard from Texas, Montana, Louisiana, and California, many places in between. And I marched on the plains of Xavier University. I was in ROTC, and I did not serve in the nation's military. I got an induction notice, showed up, and received a 4F because of back ailments I've had all my life. By the way, medical marijuana is helping that. So I have great respect for those like John McCain, who stepped forward and said, take me. Flying planes off the decks of aircraft carriers is not an easy thing. Getting shot down, what he went through, the torture, awful. Got into politics.